Hi, Kathy.
Hi, good morning. How is
Good
everyone?
morning. Good. Happy New Year to you. I know it's the
Happy New
20th,
Year.
and I remember last year we talked and you talked about being really looking forward to the new year and the birth of new IPOs coming in and, kind of freshens the slate. So if you want to share your screen, we could start talking about what's been happening in January.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. And maybe we could even start off with uh, a comparison or your view on the latest trend in the market with SPACs.
Yeah, everybody wants to know about the SPACs, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, well, we'll touch on that, but
All right. Oh, oh,
let's touch on what I think I know. I want to say I think I know for sure, but we don't know anything for sure in this world.
that's that's for sure.
But it's a new year, as you said, and we have new life cycles, I think, to look forward to in
Okay.
2021. So that's my theme.
Okay. Thank you for preparing a nice PowerPoint for this today. Appreciate
Oh,
it.
pleasure. My pleasure. And of course, just quickly disclaimer, as everybody knows. So I quickly did a scan and I only went back to 2019, but I could have gone back to 2018. But I think if you look at these top 10 IPOs in the year 2020, and again, scanning all the IPOs from 2019 to 2020 that traded $20 million a day or more,
Okay.
yielded for me on my screen 135 stocks. Go ahead. You have a question?
No. Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. I thought you
Yeah.
were
No.
had a question there. So it's just a simple screen. All the stocks from 2019 to 2020, greater than $20 million a day. And then just what were the top 10? And here you go. These are the top 10. So I think a lot of us have probably heard of these. And look at these massive gains. I mean, just amazing. I mean, just blows my mind, some of these. And I didn't get them all. I got a few. Uh, but look at the IPO date. These are all IPOs from 2019 that were the top IPOs in 2020. And this is what I was alluding to you when we were talking, that I was looking forward to 2021, because now we've got the fresh IPOs from 2020 that could potentially now be our big leaders for 2021.
Okay.
So I wanted to reiterate, well, so what do they have in common? Well, I already said they all have an IPO date of 2019. They all undercut their first week low, and we can look at some. And this is some of the stuff we've talked about before, Dale.
Right.
Most 90% of IPOs will undercut their day one low. And here I just said, well, they undercut their first week low. So no one has to be in a hurry to catch these IPOs on the day one or the day two or even the first few weeks. I mean, if you're a good fast trader and you want to catch that initial advance, if it has one, great, but you don't have to. There's no hurry, as we saw from those gains in the other slide.
Yeah. So really, you don't have to have FOMO, although it'd be nice to already be in them before they went public. And you know,
Well,
but
I don't know.
who
Not
can?
if they go down. Well, yeah, right. If
Yeah.
you're the one selling it
You're
to the
right.
retail public.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Right. So
Absolutely.
yeah, but you don't have to have FOMO because that's a great point. That if you like an IPO, you don't have to just rush out the first few days when they're full of helium due to enthusiasm. That everything in markets in life undergoes testing. Would you agree with that in the IPO arena, that uh, maybe taking out the first week's low is the beginning of the testing of the validity of that issue to
That's a
see how
great
it
analogy.
responds? Yeah.
That's a
So,
great analogy.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and we call that testing the due diligence phase. That's how we coined it in our book. The institutions are testing it, they're analyzing it, they're trying to figure out, does this company really have its weight? Is it going to hold up to the hype? does it really have sales and earnings, or does it have that potential for the earnings? If it doesn't have them yet, maybe it already has the sales. It's really going to hold the weight for the next few years, that they can get in and hold on for a while.
Okay.
So that brings me, then this leads perfectly into my next point. 70% of those top 10, okay, just those top 10 had an institutional due diligence phase. So that testing period that you were just speaking of,
Right.
that was 40 weeks or longer. So there were a few that were a little bit shorter, not that much shorter, but were 40 weeks or longer. So that's like, 6
Almost
months.
a year. Yeah.
Or almost a year, right? 6
Yeah.
months to a year.
Yeah.
So in my mind, yeah, I'm stalking it.
Right.
And I've got plenty of time to stalk and even do my research, and really just, reading the patterns, looking for those fundamentals to come in if they're going to come in, and then waiting for, looking for that accumulation for when the institutions then are confirming that they agree the testing phase is complete and we're ready to commit some money to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
40 weeks,
So,
long time to think about things.
Yes. So now what am I looking for? What am I excited about? Well, I already said IPOs from 2020. As of yesterday, my screen showed 77 in various life cycle phases. And so when I say the various life cycle phases, we've talked about this, there's the initial advance, right? Which some of them are still in, and we can look at some of those. Some of them are in that testing phase, in that institutional due diligence phase. And some of them are already kind of getting and starting that next advance after the testing, the institutional advance phase. There's not a lot of them, but there's a few. So there's definitely some to start stalking if you aren't already. It's not too late. We're only in January.
So how many have there been so far this month? New ones, new IPOs.
Oh, new IPOs. You mean for 2021?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I didn't even run the screens for 2021.
I was just
I'm
curious.
still looking at 2020, but yeah, let's run that. There's only been like maybe 5 or 6, and of that were $20 million or more a day. I'll have to say I haven't run the 2021 screen.
Okay, so let's just continue with your presentation. I was just curious. I mean,
it's a great question.
Yeah,
there's probably less than 10, I would say, that are 20 million or more.
Okay.
So of these 77 of 2020 that IPO'd in 2020, only 8% already have 40 weeks of trading. So this is what I'm saying. There's still a handful that are still, in that testing phase. So these are the ones we need to be watching, and we got plenty of time because only 8% have really only been trading 40 weeks. And then, of course, there's still obviously opportunities, the 2019 IPOs that have longer. I mean, 40 weeks is probably like the shortest amount of time is what I'm kind of pointing out, but it can still be a year, 2 years. One of the ones we talked about last year, Dale, was Snap. That one had 2, 3, 4 years, and it only just last year finally broke out of its turbulence zone and has been having a brand new kind of institutional advance phase run. And then lastly, I just wanted to point out, and I kind of already said this, was that there's plenty of IPO advanced phase opportunities for the fast trader. So the charts, right? I was just reading an article about this stock. So let's pull up Airbnb, right? Because this is one everybody is I'm sure talking about, and I think definitely has a lot of potential this year. I mean, especially with, the COVID, where everyone's getting the vaccine, people are surely wanting to travel and get out of their houses. This, IPO'd at the end of last year. It's got a nice little IPO base. It's breaking out of it. But this right now, this is that IPO advance phase. Right now, it looks like it's going to have a run. So what we don't know is it going to continue? Is it going to be short-lived, which usually it will be? I would love to trade this because I'm not against obviously trading IPO advanced phases. I think they're great opportunities. But I'm not a fast trader by nature. I'm more of a medium, buy that after that testing phase and holding on for those big gains that I showed you.
Is each bar a week?
Yes,
On
this
this
is a
chart?
weekly
Okay.
chart.
Okay.
Yes,
All
this
right.
is a week. And this is a Market Smith chart too, by the way. I subscribe to Market Smith. So.
Okay. Oh, IBD. Now I know
Yes.
why.
Yep. This is IBD. Yep. DoorDash is a great in the IPO advanced phase. Asana, and I'm just scrolling through a few of these here. But now here, American Well, this one, with the telehealth services, it's in that testing phase. It debuted in September. So it could be getting, tightening up. We still got some time here, but what I'm just trying to point out here is that there's a lot of stocks out there, IPOs from 2020, and we don't know what they're going to do, but these are potentially going to be the big leaders for the year. And these are the ones that I'm watching. So here, Health Catalysts. Now this one was actually the end of 2019 because I did want to point out, there's still some from 2019. It hasn't even been a year and a half yet. This line on Market Smith is a year and a half, and it's just now getting
Coming
past
up.
this.
Yeah, the first day or week.
Yep.
Okay, so
And this black line, really quick, sorry to interrupt you, is
that's okay.
This 40 week right here. So this is where once I start seeing this black line on the Market Smith charts is when I'm like, okay, now I really want to start watching. Now look how interesting this is. Now, granted, this is the pandemic right here, okay, which most stocks cratered, but right when the 40 week started, that's when it came back up above, built this first base, and this is totally viable. This is a mature, what we would call a first mature base. It's breaking out of that. It still has to get through the turbulent zone, but this could be the start of that institutional advance phase. And this could be one of the ones we're talking about next year as a leader from 2021. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know a whole lot about this company, but it's got the sales, so we'll see. So I'll pause. I don't want to.
Yeah. So and the formation looks pretty constructive once it got back above 35 or so. So okay. So I'm getting a few questions. How many IPOs would one hold in the portfolio? How many? What's the most that you have carried in your portfolio positions in IPOs in different stages, Kathy?
Well,
What would you say the average is?
If it's in the institutional advanced phase, after that testing phase, the majority of my stocks will be recent IPOs. I would have had no problem holding all those 10 IPOs that I showed you from 2020. Well, I will not do is let's go back to Airbnb. These institutional advanced phases where they're can be very volatile, 5-10% a day swings. I can only have one, maybe two for me in my portfolio at a time. But once it's in its institutional advanced phase, like Zoom, I think we've talked about. I'm a holder of Zoom. I can hold this, and I can hold Peloton, and I can hold Fiverr. I didn't have Fiverr, unfortunately, but once it's institutional advanced phase, it's fine for me to have the majority of those in my portfolio.
Okay. Is there an IPO with the symbol MP that someone's asking about?
Well, let's see, MP. So this doesn't show that it's an IPO on Market Smith. Is this a SPAC potentially?
I don't know. It says it's mining metal ores, but that's all he gave me was MP. Few people in here own it. So I'm not sure. Guys, is it a SPAC or an IPO? Owners of MP. SPAC.
Yeah. I can't tell, but I will say, it looks like an IPO, right? That started trading in 2020. had a nice little base here. That, you know,
Yeah.
this definitely could have been its testing phase, its institutional due diligence phase. And, you know, we don't have, well, actually, no, I take that back. This hasn't even been 40 weeks yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. It reminds me kind of a SPAC, the way that it looks, but I can't.
They're saying it is a spec.
Okay, well then that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Okay.
The thing with SPACs that I find challenging is that you see, at least on MarketSmith, you know, I've got no numbers here. And
Right.
usually what happens is you have like no action, no action. And then as soon as the news comes out that this company is going to join up with this company, then it spikes up.
Okay.
And then it has like what is like an IPO advanced phase. So,
Right.
and you've got those 5 to 10% per day swings or more is what I've observed. So to be honest, I've stayed away from them at this point.
Okay.
Because again, I'm a more medium, slower trader than the faster trader. But I think if you're good with those, you know, faster rules, there's no reason to trade them. I don't have
Okay.
enough information to
You don't have
say
enough
they
data
go
to make a decision. There's no information.
exactly. I
You
don't know
know.
if there's a testing phase yet. I mean, if we look at DraftKings, you know, that's been a really great one. Uh, and it is still volatile. It's still a volatile stock in general. You know, the news came out back here, you know, it had that tight action where it wasn't doing anything. Then the news came out, oh, this company is going to bring the market. And then it was all volatile. And then I did think it was going to be done here. But, you know, it's still going. Obviously, there's the news about, you know, the betting and opening up in more states. But yeah, I don't know if they're going to create a testing phase because they've already been tested. I'm not really sure. I'm still trying to figure out that story.
Can you do you think there's any implications about, you know, a lot of companies going public, direct listing, SPACs? I'm just talking about that there are a couple of different ways to go that wasn't available to private companies before. Is it a sign of anything that people are going towards doing specs instead of IPOs? Is it because it's less expensive in the you know, going through the whole process of meeting all the compliance tests and everything before you could be listed on an exchange in an IPO, and people are just, this is more cost efficient for people to do? What do you think the reason is for like a different way of going public, or bringing back just, you know, being what they call that, just being a listing, Kathy? Direct listing instead of an IPO?
Well, I think direct listing is different from the SPAC, of
Yeah,
course.
right.
But
But they're
but
two
I
different options from
right,
going IPO. So
right.
why are
No, I
people
mean,
going that way?
yeah, well, I think it's exactly what you said. I mean, it takes out a lot of the scrutiny, and so it
Yeah,
makes it easier for the company to come on.
yeah,
Um,
and
and,
commit
and there's
fraud.
nothing wrong with that. And I think
Okay.
because we had such a strong market, it was just a great opportunity for these companies to get on
Yeah. Okay.
quickly.
Because everything goes up forever, right? Is
Yeah,
that
it would appear so. It would appear
okay?
so. Uh-huh. But it will
All
be
right.
interesting to see if it continues. You know, if we continue to have this bull market this year, you know, and then next year, you know, how long will they be with us? Because, you know, I wasn't really actively trading back in the 90s, but my understanding is that, you know, this had happened back then as well. So, you know, people are making correlations from this time to that time. And I can't really speak to that because again, I wasn't trading actively
Okay.
back.
Well, you could speak to March of 2020 during the COVID crash. Would you say that um, even if IPOs were already through their testing phase and, you know, due diligence phase, um, weren't they as vulnerable or more vulnerable during that sell-off? Did many of them hold up better than the general market, or were they just, you know, the market's down 10%, 20%, they were down about the same equivalent, or are they even magnified from a general market decline?
Oh, I think IPOs definitely have the potential to be magnified and hit harder anytime the market goes into a correction. Growth stocks, I think by nature can go down twice as much what the market goes down. Absolutely.
Okay.
But like anything else, what were the strong ones that did not do that? And those were the ones that you needed to look for to be in. And, there's definitely plenty of those.
Yeah, I know you being an IBD protege are always looking for the relative strength in these issues, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So, Kathy, anything else you wanted to show us today?
No, that was really what I
Okay.
wanted to kind of get everyone excited about. And, patience is a virtue, and there's no
Yeah.
reason to have the FOMO, because the opportunities are there, and we just need to be students of the market and continue to study and look for those new batch of winners.
Okay. I have maybe a question or two on trading psychology. How do you deal, Kathy, with a flat market, slow, unlike a 2020 ripper, for a slow, longer term trader?
Well, ultimately, I let my stocks guide me. So if my stocks are holding my rules, whether I'm using the mental capital preservation rules or I'm using a moving average rule, whether
Okay.
the market is flat, going up or going down, I want to see what my stocks are doing and treat them accordingly. And I guess my best example of that is how I was able to hold Zoom during, because I had it before the crash, and then I was able to hold it, through the crash and then up until now. And I basically just let my rules guide me. I mean, mentally, sure,
Yeah.
it's challenging. The emotions are there, but I have the rules to guide me through that.
Okay. We have many in our audience that could teach me a million things. And Albert's saying the history of success is a track record. That's why the companies are being fast tracked. I assume he's talking about specs. It's like crypto versus stocks. It's a new movement of a decentralized ability to move. So specs are a way to decentralize. I believe he's saying that instead of giving the exchanges control.
That makes sense. That makes sense to me. Thanks
Okay.
for sharing.
Okay. So see, you bring out the best in our attendees. So it's really nice to be in a community where people know more than the host. So
Absolutely. We have to
so
learn from each other.
we do, and Kathy, I really appreciate you being here, and I know just from the questions that we've received today that there are people interested in IPOs. So if they want to follow you and get your research, what's the best way for them to go about it?
Yeah, the best way is on Twitter, KGD_investor. And I'm also on LinkedIn. So people can feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or on Twitter. I'm
And
happy
where can
to.
they get your book?
The book is on Amazon, The Life Cycle Trade. You can go to our website, thelifecycletrade.com. Yeah, I should put back up my title
Yeah,
slide.
do a commercial, Kathy. There
Yeah,
you
do a
go. All right.
commercial. So yeah, thelifecycletrade.com, and
All
you
right.
can read about us, and you can read about, of course, this interview will be posted there, and all the interviews myself and my co-authors have done. And then there'll be a link to Amazon if people are interested.
May all your picks turn into blue chips.
Yeah, I
How
love
about?
that.
All right, Kathy. Thank you so much. I'm rooting for you. I appreciate you coming in and explaining the IPOs and, explaining to people that they don't have to be in a hurry, that they could monitor things. Sometimes we're paid to watch and do nothing
Hmm.
and, just let things develop and to where it's so compelling and rule based that you have to click your mouse. What do you think?
I think that's perfect, Dale. Thank you so much
Okay.
for inviting me. Always a
Well,
pleasure.
we'll do it again, I promise.
Sounds good.
All right, Kathy. And remember, don't just count your IPOs, everyone. Count your blessings that you can afford to trade and look at different instruments and be educated by people like Kathy that are coming in here to share what they know. And they gain that knowledge through, at times, hard knocks and learning from their mistakes. And I know people like Kathy are out there to help you avoid the landmines that you would step on without guidance. So that's a wrap, everyone. Have a great day, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks again, Kathy Donnelly.
Thank you.
Adios, everyone.